Mikeila, welcome to Spark TV.
Thank you for having me, Danielle.
I'm very excited to have you here. Why don't we kick off just by telling everybody who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Mikeila. I'm the owner and creative director of Bandit. So Bandit's a brand studio based here in Sydney, and we work with our clients basically to build brands that really align with their purpose. So we work with them to uncover their purpose and build something around it that really helps them achieve their vision, mission, in line with their values, and attract their target audience, essentially. And then we basically filter that out over all of their different touch points. So we work with them on their websites, packaging, anything and everything, really. It's so hard to list it all out, but yeah, we're kind of pivoting ourselves to be a brand experience studio. So creating an experience for the customers that is really linked in and hooked into the brand.
I love that so much because a lesson I learned through the business years was, everyone used to think that a brand was a logo. And I feel like we went through this time in business where we all realized that it wasn't a logo, and that it was an experience. And yes, absolutely, all of the visual identity stuff is super important, but it just goes so far. So I actually love that you start with uncovering a business's mission and values and purpose. Where do you start with that? Like, how do you actually go through that process with a business?
Well, we start with all of our clients with a strategy session. And in that session, that's where we're kind of uncovering these things. So we're asking a lot of questions, like why they started the business, why the business is important. Like if the business could achieve one thing, what would that one thing be? What's really important to them? Is there like a legacy that they want to leave on the industry or their customers, or is it something bigger, like something world changing? Do they want to solve a global issue or a local issue? So it starts with a lot of question asking and kind of getting to the root of why they exist.
Do you think people know that already? Do some people have all the answers, or do some people actually not actually sure what it is they stand for?
Some do and some don't. So yeah, you get the clients who have a really good idea of why, something's happened in their life, or they've had an experience where they've started this business for a reason and they're really clear on that. And there's business owners who have started a business because, it's just something that they kind of wanted to do. And there is always a purpose behind a business. So it's just a little bit more digging, a little bit, getting a little bit deeper to uncover that purpose.
I guess as business owners, we're always running so fast. If you've kind of just fallen into something like, I'm a great XYZ, so I should just start a business about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't stop to ask ourselves those questions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think, like having a business, every single business has a brand, whether you like it or not. It's up to you whether or not you want to influence the way that people see your brand or not. So branding is essentially any exercise that we do to try and influence those perceptions. So yeah, it's a really good point to take if you're in a place in business where maybe you're not attracting the right customers. Maybe, the work's no longer fulfilling and you want to pivot yourself and do something a little bit different. That's a really good point to start asking all of these questions and uncovering, well, like, why do I even have this business? Why do I exist? And then pulling the pieces back together and putting something back out there that does really reflect what you're trying to create.
I love that so much because I'm actually going through that with one of my businesses right now.
Yeah.
This no longer fulfills me. What do I do? Yeah. I love that, the idea of actually taking a step back and kind of trying to figure that out. That's such an interesting thing. Do you have any tips on where someone would start? Like what questions? So take me, for example, if I'm struggling today to show up for one of my businesses, are there specific questions, like thought starters, that you might ask a customer to maybe think about before they get in front of you into that strategy session?
Yeah, I think it's, thinking about the story of why you started the business and pulling out key points of okay, well, why did I even start this business? What would I hope it achieves? So if you're thinking maybe 5 years down the track, where would your business ideally be? But more importantly, what would it have achieved? Like, has it changed the way that people do something? Have you, like invented a new product and it's revolutionized people's lives? Or, are you helping to solve global issues? So it's like, what would you really hope that it has achieved? Or has it just had a really positive impact on people on a very individual low level way? There's no wrong answer. It's just trying to think about what's the impact that your business is trying to make.
I love that too, that there is no wrong answer. So with Spark, we've just launched this $10,000 grant for women in business.
Yeah.
And it's super broad. Like the idea is just, how would 10 grand help you grow your profit and impact? And somebody asked me yesterday, well, what does impact mean? And I think it is so different, like I think sometimes when we think impact, we think we do have to change the world. Like we've got to solve global warming or, feed starving people or whatever it might be. But I think impact can happen on a really small level. And that's actually amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. Not every single business needs to have that global level of impact, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just needs to be within your small community, or it really depends on the individual and what they're trying to create. But I really do think like there is no wrong answer. It just has to feel really aligned and authentic to you.
I love that because if it's not authentic and aligned, it is difficult to show up for it every day.
Yeah. And people can tell as well.
Yes. Oh my God.
You can tell when it's not authentic, I think.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. It's funny, isn't it? It's just like a feeling that you get.
Yeah, it's just like the dots don't quite align and match up. And that's, I think, the most successful brands really, truly know what their purpose is. And they're speaking about it with so much clarity and their whole brand aligns to that. So that's what makes a business really strong, is having that strength in the brand.
I love that. So how did you even get into this? What's your backstory?
Well, I studied as a graphic designer. So I studied design, website design and development as well. So I did a double degree at uni. Took up a lot of my time.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so that was about over 10 years ago now. And I worked in-house as a designer for a little while, and freelanced on the side because I just love I'm a bit of a workaholic.
Yeah.
So
all good business owners are.
So I did that for about 5 years. And then my partner he had started a business kind of in tandem with me, and he was moving up to Sydney for work. So I was coming along and I thought, right, now's the time that I'll just leave my job and start Bandit full time. So I did that. It was just me for the first little bit. I hired some freelance help, and she later became my first hire. So the team started growing from there. But we've been around for about 6 years now.
And how have you found it? How's life as a business owner versus life as an in-house designer working for somebody else?
Worlds apart, very different.
Yeah.
as you would know. It's a roller coaster, but it's fun. Like, I'm here for it. I love it. I love the roller coaster. So many ups and downs, but I think I've grown so much as a person in that journey as well. Like, as the business has grown, so have I, and I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful for everything.
It's so funny, isn't it? I always say that to people, because I had a corporate career before I started businesses, and I was like, I just never would have gotten the experiences that I have now sitting behind that desk.
No, one of my business mentors, she says, like, starting a business is a one-way ticket to self-development. Like, you just have to grow and push. There's no other way to do it. So I've definitely found that's the case.
It's so true. What have been some of your most interesting lessons over the last 6 years?
There's been so many.
Like, how long do you have, and do we have wine?
Yeah, exactly. I know it's a little bit too early for wine. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been so many, and in so many different areas of the business. Like, you know, I was 22, 23 when I started business, and nobody teaches you how to run a business. Like, you don't learn about it in school. I didn't come from a family that runs businesses, so I kind of just went into it really blind, and I had to learn really quickly basically how to run a business. So learning the financials, like what even is a profit and loss
Yeah.
statement. I didn't learn that until about 3 years in, so that was interesting. But yeah, running the financials, and then also growing a team. I think that's probably one of the biggest ones is, you know, I had no previous leadership or team management skills whatsoever. And to do that in my own way was probably one of the biggest hurdles, because you get advice from people.
Yeah, well, do you have any like advice on people who might be starting to grow their team for the first time?
Yeah, I would just say probably like really sit with yourself and think about what kind of leader you want to be, and what would make you proud of yourself in that leadership position. Because I think it's really easy to get sucked into that belief of, you know, being like a boss and a leader. You have to be like that hard up woman who's not super friendly and warm with their staff, or, you know, there's like a really strong line in the sand. And I just haven't personally found that to be my experience. Like we're a team of 8 women, and I've employed people who I genuinely like. If I'm going to spend like this much time with you, I want to get along with you, and I want to be able to sit down and have a drink on a Friday after work. And, you know, like be involved in each other's lives, not just, you know, work together 8 hours a day. So that was kind of my decision of like, yeah, I do want to have that close relationship with my team. I do need boundaries. So kind of, you know, setting out those and deciding what they are and how they look, and just being really intentional about it.
I love that. That's like this thread for today, isn't it? Is like actually sitting down and asking yourself questions and figuring out what the path looks like for you.
Yeah, I think it's so important to just stop and think about things before you kind of, you know, rush in. And I mean, I'm not saying that I did do that. I did rush in, and then I found myself in a position where I was like, oh, I don't like this.
Yeah, like this sucks. What happened? I'm the boss. How did I get here?
Okay, I have to take 5 and just take a minute and rehash. Yeah.
I know, but it's like that, right? And I think even if you know that, you still have moments where you do it again. You know, like there'll be something where in 6 months I'll be like, oh my God, how did this happen? Okay, now take a step back, figure out what we got this to look like and fix it.
Yeah, it's not going to be perfect. There'll be many, many, many mistakes. And I think that's a good thing though. You know, it's like, if you're not making any mistakes, are you really trying that hard? Like, you know what I mean? You need to make mistakes to learn the lessons that you need to learn. And no one can give you all of the answers. Nobody, like no matter what. So yeah, you just kind of have to be comfortable with making mistakes and learning.
Yeah. I love that, because you're so right for starters. But it is interesting. I was having a conversation with another woman in business, and we were like, you know, if you don't have problems, you're probably not trying to actually accomplish anything very interesting. You know, people think problems are bad, challenges are bad, mistakes are bad, but they're not. Like they're all just that kind of thing you have to go through to figure out what you want out of your business, what you want out of your team, what you want out of your life. You know, nobody gets it right on the first try.
Exactly. And I think it's just, you know, like knowing that it is going to be uncomfortable. Like it's not going to be comfortable. There's going to be uncomfortable moments when you do make mistakes and you do realize things maybe aren't panning out the way that you thought they would. And that's okay. Like we all go through that. I don't know one business owner who, you know, hasn't gone through those types of challenges.
Yeah. And I kind of think the bigger you are, the bigger they get.
100%.
It's not like, oh, now I have 20 clients or now I've made $1 million. All of my troubles have gone away.
No.
In fact, they're worse.
Yes. It doesn't stop.
No. I mean, I think it's just such a good point to talk about, because I do feel like people hesitate starting businesses or trying things because they are worried that it might not work out.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what people hesitate about the most, is the fear of like, you know, I don't know enough to start a business, or, you know, like I don't have enough money, whatever it is. It's somebody's been in your situation and they've done it. So you don't have not enough of anything. You can do it. You just have to be comfortable knowing that, you know, it's not going to be a comfortable experience.
Yeah. Totally. Leave comfort for Friday night when you're on the couch drinking wine, watching Netflix.
Yes, you have to find your comforts in other places.
Yes, totally. That is interesting. Even that, but I mean, that's an interesting challenge in and of itself, isn't it? Like going from, I'm so stressed about this situation at work, to I have to just let that go and be a normal human being for my partner or my family or my friends or whatever.
Yeah.
I think juggling that business life and personal life is interesting.
It is. It's yeah, an interesting thing to kind of.
Have you mastered it?
I don't think I have mastered it. I don't know if I ever will have mastered it. I think I've gotten a lot better at managing it, and yeah, like it can be stressful running a business, but knowing how to kind of take care of yourself when you're having one of those days or one of those weeks, I think that's really important. And having those tools to be able to call on to help you through those moments. Because as we just said, like, they don't go away, but if you can get better at managing them and dealing with them, then everything feels a lot better.
Yeah, I do love that, like having the tools. That's such a great way to think about it, because, and again, it is so different for everybody. You know, I know there's people in my network who are the 5 a.m. meditating journal kinds, and I am not that kind.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm a, you know, bubble bath at 2:00 in the afternoon because I'm like, I just need to step away and wash all of my troubles down the drain. But finding those things, like finding what it is that actually helps you disconnect and think clearer to be able to solve those problems and challenges, is so important.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
So what are you looking forward to for the future? What does it look like for Bandit?
Bandit, yeah, I feel like we're going through a bit of a transformation at the moment, which is really exciting. So we are on the very cusp of launching our own new brand identity, which is fun, because we don't often have time to like work on ourselves because we're so busy with our clients. But yeah, we've kind of dedicated the time to doing that this year. So yeah, we'll be launching a new website very shortly, which is exciting.
Awesome.
Moving studios, and as I said, kind of pivoting ourselves to be positioned as more of the brand experience studio, because that is what we do so well, is understanding a brand, building all of the assets, but then filtering it out over across a whole customer experience. So yeah.
That's so exciting. I love it. I love it. Now, look, obviously we're going to link up all of your details. So if anyone needs help with their brand experience, they can find you. But let's just leave the Spark community with one last piece of advice. If you were talking to a brand new business owner, or maybe your earlier younger self, what is one piece of advice that you think has rung true for you over your time in business?
One piece of advice that actually came from a business mentor of mine, Prue Chapman, she said, begin with the end in mind. And I thought that is like some really sage advice of, you know, as I said, again, when you're starting a business, think about what you want it to achieve and kind of begin with that vision in mind. And that vision can change and iterate as you grow. but having something in the beginning, knowing kind of where you're going and what you're aiming for, and setting yourself up for that, I think is, a really incredible thing to be able to do.
I love it. All about taking a step back and actually asking ourselves the deep questions and thinking about things and reflecting. I love it so much. I think anyone can apply that to business, whether they're just starting out or me now. Going away and asking myself the tough questions. You are incredible, Mikeila. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and wisdom with the Spark community. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.